Namaste, Jai Bharat. The basis of Bharatiya Sanskriti is something called as Kutumba. Kutumba could seriously be translated or roughly be translated as family, but the different ingredients than what you understand in a concept of family in English. And the different variants are units of Sanskriti. So, Kutumba concept. Let's understand what is the concept of Kutumba. Kutumba, if you try to understand the structure of Kutumba is something akin to building a huge building, blocks after blocks, one block on top of the other. That's the kind of structure of Kutumba with so many ingredients in it. There are many participants who are integral to the structure. When you look at the Kutumba concept of structure, there are many ingredients to it. That's a structural appearance of Kutumba. But when you talk about the function of Kutumba, each structure has its own vibrant, independent, but at tandem function, coexisting to function the Kutumba as a functional unit. Now, one of the important aspects in the Kutumba is interaction between the different ingredients of the concept of Kutumba. The interactions are fundamentally one important aspect of the interaction is discourses, talking to one another. And there's no need of a given topic or any particular topic. It's just casual talks, which makes the integrated Kutumba unit as one unit. For instance, let's talk about the mother. When the mother is in kitchen, mostly kitchen, or doing her space, using her space, the children shall be near her, talking to her. They are not talking about any serious topics. They are talking about topics of mutual interest, day-to-day topics. Simple, the mango tree or the jackfruit tree or some other thing which concerns them in the house, and they keep talking. This interaction is very important because it's a kind of give and take relations of concepts. That's one thing. Now, the father figure is yet another important aspect, rather the prime aspect in the family is the father figure who has a space in the family, and normally he sits somewhere relaxing after the work. These things happen in the evenings, mostly after the work, and when you reach home, you spend some time with father, talk similar things, anything of curiosity. Father normally asks where you had been, then he say, and the associated narratives where you had been. I remember my younger days, we go out just in the evenings for meeting friends or stroll, then reach back slightly late home. Father shall be sitting in his usual canvas chair, relaxing, and we go and sit next to him. The first thing is that I used to do is to go and sit next to him. He'll ask where you had been. Then say, I went with so and so, this place, that place. And that's how the discussion begins. Sometimes it's a short talk, and sometimes it goes into longer talks. It depends on the situation, atmosphere, his mood, and the topics coming, etc. So the important aspect in a family is discourses between the members, I won't say ingredients of the family. They interact, and this interact is discourse, and this discourse becomes very meaningful. It goes at length in making the single unit of Kutumba concept very strong. So the functional aspect of Kutumba aspect is basically interaction. Interaction is through dialogues. Apart from many other forms of interaction, but mostly through dialogues. They talk, they give, and ultimately what happens is each ingredient of the Kutumba family understands one another perfectly. Perhaps each one knows what the other person needs, and accordingly they support. Where a check is required, anyone checks everyone. Not necessarily that the elders check you, the youngsters also can check you. That this doesn't appear good, smooth, and the elders hear, and when it is needed, they listen. So the Kutumba concept is fundamental to Hindu families in particular and Bharatiya families in general. Why I said Hindu families in particular and Bharatiya families in general is simply because in Hindu families, according to my understanding, is the interaction is intense, and depending upon the level of the Bharatiya Sanskriti in each family, the interaction shall be more intense or less intense, irrespective of our faith system. But generally speaking, I spoke about Hindu family because whether one's faith system is this or that, the Sanskaric aspect, the Sanskritic aspect, is a Hindu Sanskritic aspect. That's what it came. I said Hindu families. Here, faith doesn't play anything. Now, with this interaction one another, the unit gets strengthened, and this becomes the first step towards the coexistence in Bharatiya Sanskriti. And the coexistence when we talk about it's a larger kind of coexistence. The coexistence of the multiple and plural in the Veda-Upanishadic knowledge tradition, that is the basis of Bharatiya Sanskriti. You see how these things are interconnected. If I'm allowed to use the word dialectical, they're dialectically related to one another. This dialectical relation is is something which is something which the Marxists are very fond of, rightly to a greater extent. But too much of dialectics makes the whole thing dry and stiff. But here I'm not using it to that extent, but then their tools are at times good to understand. Now the Sanskriti is based on this. Now one difference from the past and the present is that there used to be a time then most of the families in Bharat used to be joint families, irrespective of faith system. And in joint family, the interactions shall be more in volume, more functional, and perhaps not that sharp when it comes to narrow down. But they had a common functional connection one another. But the joint families used to exist at a time when the time requirement is that there are a lot of advantages in the joint families, that responsibility is commonly shared, which is very important. You don't feel let down because the family is always with you. But in modern times, the functional or the function of common joint family can't go on because of the various other requirements, because people have to move out from the family surrounding, family locus to elsewhere, and then they have units of that small families, nuclear family kinds of concept, and then subsequently many people prefer that nuclear family concept, less numbers instead of large numbers in a common kitchen and serious common interaction with one another. But even in nuclear family, the interaction of the nuclear family is also Kutumba, not necessarily joint family, but nuclear family is also Kutumba. There also, the more their interaction through dialogue, then the more shall be the strength of that family. There is a problem here in modern times that the cellular phones, Android phones or whatever, they have taken much of your time. At home also, people spend their time with their phones. And if that is the case, this interaction receives a serious setback. But at home, there must be space and time within the nuclear family that one keeps the mobiles aside and talk to one another. Sometime in the evenings, the prayer, collective prayer, used to be with people, and there must still be such practices, collective prayer, instead of individual prayers. And after that, there will be a session of interaction, and the mobiles are always with you. They would keep it away for some time when this interaction is needed, and that would make the unit families healthier. So, the concept of Kutumba has to begin with the family. Naturally, Kutumba has to be Kutumba, and that Kutumba is the first step or the first building block of the Sanskriti of Bharat. When Kutumba is destroyed, remember the Sanskriti gets shaken, your coexistence gets shaken. The many of the left liberals are against such a Kutumba concept, inadvertently though, but that becomes self-destroying, if not self-stultifying. So we shall meet again with some other thought. Till then, Namaste, Jai Bharat, Jai Sri Ram.